Greetings, everyone. Welcome to week 29 of the Bible in 365. As we get ready for our readings this week, we're going to spend the next 11 days reading the balance of Second Chronicles. So we're going to be spending a lot of time in Chronicles. As we do that, I wanted to take just a moment, give you a few quick facts to help orient you as you do these readings. So the first thing I want you to remember is that First and Second Chronicles are one book. Just like Kings and Samuel, the book of Chronicles was simply too long to fit on one scroll. And so that's the reason it gets divided in two. So First and Second Chronicles aren't different books. They're just two volumes of the same book. The second fact I want to give you is that Chronicles is actually the last book of the Jewish scriptures. So in the Jewish scriptures, Chronicles comes at the end because it ends with the rededication or the rebuilding of the temple under the Edict of Cyrus after Israel's exile to Babylon. And remember that Chronicles was written to that post-exilic community, the people who had returned to Jerusalem when the temple was being rebuilt. And the purpose of Chronicles was to kind of reframe Israel's history for that particular group of people. And chronologically, that is the end of the Old Testament. And so Chronicles gets moved, is placed at the end. It gets moved in our Bibles because in our Bibles, we put all the historical material in one place and all the prophets in another place. And so we end our Old Testament with all of the prophets, and all of the historical material ends with Second Chronicles. The third fact, to get you oriented, is I want you to notice as you're reading Second Chronicles, especially, that Chronicles uses the building of the tabernacle in Exodus as a model for the building of the temple. So you'll see this. You may remember, or maybe you don't, all the way back when we were reading Exodus, uh, Bezalel and Oholiab were entrusted with building the tabernacle in Exodus 35. Well, in the same way, you'll see that Solomon and Huramabi are tasked with building the temple here. They have a similar kind of relationship. And then, just as God kind of dictates the plans of the tabernacle in Exodus, you'll see God dictating the plans for the temple. What's the point of this? The point is to show the Israelites that just as God ordained the building of the tabernacle, so God has ordained the building of the first temple and the building of the second temple in Jerusalem. And then finally, the temple that was rebuilt in Jerusalem is meant to signify Israel's continuity with the past. Now, one of the challenges for the post-exilic Israelites is they looked at the temple that they rebuilt, and it was not near as majestic as Solomon's temple. They didn't have the same amount of resources, and they didn't have the same amount of skill and knowledge to be able to build what Solomon built. But the point of Chronicles is to show that that rebuilt temple, even if it doesn't physically look as majestic, is a sign of the continuity between the Israelites of the post-exilic era and the Israelites of the very beginning. These are still the covenant people of God. They are still the inheritors of God's promise of everlasting blessing. And so it is meant as a reminder to these people that even though life hasn't quite panned out the way they thought it would, still yet God's promises are true. All right, with that, let's dive into Second Chronicles, and I'll see you right back here next week for more of the Bible in 365.